Hey, how's it going? I just wanted to do I think a quick video on shopping for a god. And so this to me is something that I think flat earthers will start doing more. People who are, coming from atheism, coming from, you know, um, a stale version of Christianity like myself, being reinvigorated because of flat earth, and people from other religions and all that kind of stuff, backgrounds, to me, will start realizing that God is literal, and real. And it's a very tangible entity that we're dealing with that created all this and the deception. And so I think in a good way, I think more and more people are going to be shopping for a God, and I think coupled with that now obvious truth of the flat earth, flat stationary earth, and then people's pocketbooks being pinched, and just financial uncertainty, economic uncertainty, and just with how evil the world is, overall, I think there's going to be a good market for people shopping for a God, and I think it's a great thing. And choose wisely. But I'm speaking from an earthly perspective. All these things are already predetermined. Jesus even says that we didn't choose him; he chose us. If we're one of those lucky ones that are actually chosen, it was his decision, not ours. And so I'm speaking from an earthly perspective, from what we can understand, in our journey. But I think that it's important to first acknowledge that, that you can't be a flat earther and not believe in God. Just overall, that's just not allowed and stupid, and worse than being a ball earther and even being an atheist, because you have every reason, all of us have every reason to then shop for a God. If we believe that we're on a stationary earth, flat earth, that's just suspended in the middle of air, it's three space, that's not explained by anything else but intelligent design, and a non human made that, obviously. So we have to go shopping, all of us. And so my channel is obviously giving people encouragement, in many ways myself, to look towards the God of the Bible, for an explanation for all of this. And it's definitely a good place to start. So the thing that I want to remind people, I guess, when they're doing this, is what to look for. Like what should we be looking for when we look for a God? First, if you're coming from the flat earth, you have to find a God that is upfront that they're behind the deception, and that would be the God of the Bible. He's very, very upfront about that. To me, so that's a level of sort of honesty, because we all would have to think that God is honest and upfront about the things that he's doing, especially something that big. And so we ourselves would need to be honest as well. It's like if we're searching for God, one would think that if God is honest and upfront about the good and the bad, he would want that from us as well. And so that's very, very important. God cannot be fooled. No matter which God you select, one would think that he's able to see everything. So that's very, very important. Our intentions have to be pure. That's why a lot of these people who keep it at flat earth and leave it there, I know that they're just actors, because they're not shopping for a God. Like, they're not doing the next thing that would be obvious, is to go and look for a God and pursue that God with a pure heart. And I'm not even saying what they're doing is impure. It's just they're just reciting the things that they're allowed to talk about, and that's just their role to play. And so to me, you then have to have a purity to approach God and not do it for any other motive, except wanting and desiring God. It's not to maintain a following. It's not to be strategic, about the people that you're targeting and stuff like that. One would think that really any God, but certainly the God of the Bible, wants a person to pursue them with like a reckless abandon, and we will literally need to abandon a lot of our old thoughts and ideas. And so honesty, purity is very, very important. And one thing I want to also mention, that I'll go into a little bit more in the book of Daniel, is be somebody that's hard to impress. I think that if we're looking for a God, the difficult thing for us as humans is that we're susceptible to be impressed by things around us. People with power, status, money, skills, unique skills, and all that kind of stuff. And so that's not a good quality to have when you're searching for a God, because again, we're looking for an entity that made this. Just finding an entity that made the earth is that alone, puts that entity in a unique category, and that's not a human thing, And so, in general, it's a good idea for all of us to just be hard to impress, and especially if you end up with the God of the Bible, because he says that anybody who loves this world is an enemy to him, So he's asking us to not be impressed, even though the things that he has made are impressive. He's asking us to not look around and be in awe of the things that are going on, around that he made. He wants us only to be impressed by him, the Heavenly Father, and the work of his Son, And so that's the incredible thing as well about Jesus, is that he didn't just randomly make stuff magically appear and put on a show or show unique athletic ability or anything like that. He showed his ability to impress me and lots of us who worship him, is that he was able to be humble, yet he created everything, and he was able to forgive even though he was only here to love, And so and to suffer the way that he did after committing no sin. These are the things that he wants us to worship him for, because they're very hard to do. No other human can do that. People can build up things, obviously not on earth and all that, but people are able to build things, do things on a micro level. But these kind of things that Jesus did, are very, very unique, to him and his time here on earth. And so I think that that's one important thing just to remember is we have to be hard to impress. The days that we live in now, I think it's becoming very, very obvious that none of this is impressive, like enslaving people, building up high rises, athletes and stuff like that, they're who knows what kind of drugs they're on, or, all that. And honestly, a lot of especially even in golf, a lot of the equipment is aiding people to be really, really good, and it's a lot of assistance, and stuff like that. There's a lot of artificial everything, and even people's appearance now can be altered, artificially and stuff like that. So there's really nothing to be impressed by in the time that we live in now. And then even further motivated by the fact that, in my opinion, the mark of the beast is right around the corner. And so all these people, God has just programmed them to want enslavement and then, have it fully manifest in the mark of the beast. And so it's not wrong to be a person who's hard to impress. And I would say the God of the Bible demands that, in order for us to appreciate him and appreciate him for the right reasons. And so I think that it's a good time to be a truther. I just want people to know that it's a good time. The lies are just so pervasive and so dumb that it's a great time to be a truther. And I have a feeling that more and more channels are going to start moving away from, Mark Sargent eloquently stated gas pressure without a container. That's not enough, for a lot of us. This is not a shot to Oakley, but I was just watching his daily debate show today, and that doesn't do it for a lot of us, anymore. I think that, again, I suspect, and I have a feeling that it's already happening, there's going to be more and more channels like mine that move on from flat earth, and then we start asking the more obvious questions now for people who are certain of the flat earth and want to dive deeper into the mind of a God, whichever God that is behind it, that would have to be behind it first and foremost, to do something like that, and start asking the next sort of obvious questions. But before we can interact with a God, we have to pick one, and I think that it's a good idea to give the God of the Bible a chance. He's the dark-skinned Messiah. I think that first and foremost, if people have a problem with that, this is not the place to come look. God is who he is, and for those of us, looks like the few of us that worship him for who he is, He needs to be accepted the way that he is and worshipped for the right reasons as well. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.